This podcast proudly acknowledges the Yuggera and Turrbal people of the Engine. G'day and welcome to Brisbados, a podcast about a city growing fast and figuring itself out. I'm Ronja, that's R-O-N-J-A with the J, and I have lived in this city enough to fall in love with its quirks, question its changes, and just wonder what comes next. Every episode, I want to try to take you on a journey through the streets, the stories, kind of get to the soul of Brisbane, from the shadow of the Gabba to the quiet corners of the suburbs. I'm asking the big question, who the heck is Brisbane? Whether you're a local, a newcomer, or just curious, I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the very first episode. This is a solo one, just you and me, and it's a big one because I'm trying to do something ambitious, which is just define a city. I like this analogy that I've used with Sydney and Melbourne over the years. So my background is I grew up in Brisbane and then before COVID moved to Melbourne because I was in my 20s and wanted to live a little and was kind of tired of seeing the same faces on Eagle Street, to be totally honest. But then what happened was after COVID hit, obviously Melbourne, Sydney, down south, it all locked down. But then Brisbane, was totally open. And I mean, I know some people will argue with that, but in comparison to Melbourne, it was fairly open. So then what happened was I think people from down south realized, oh my God, Noosa exists. And Queensland sunshine is just the best. So there was just this huge influx of people that came up here. But then what happened, I guess, is with the influx of people, it meant that people who actually stayed in Brisbane, they didn't figure out who they were without that influx. Sydney and Melbourne are places that have a really strong sense of identity. And I know I'm going on about Sydney and Melbourne a bit right now, but it's because Brisbane was in this really adolescent phase before COVID when I left. It was in this phase of figuring itself out. It's becoming, it's starting to become itself, but it hasn't quite gotten there, right? We were clocking on to the fact that our sunshine is incredible. We love the beach. We've got this amazing outdoorsy culture. We're simple. We're pretty larrikin, happy-go-lucky, chill. We also have boundaries. We're do not cut in when you're merging, or indicator, nice indicator, dickhead. We have all of that. So we're just figuring out who the heck we are. But then COVID hits, they all come up, and then with them they bring this lifestyle that we maybe look up to because Sydney or Melbourne were the big next cities and we were never part of their cool crew. But Sydney's the hot sister, right? Sydney is just born beautiful. She's got the harbour. She's just stunning. She's hot. Sydney's hot. And I actually think when you get to Sydney, and I don't know, look out for this next time you go, but you get to the airport and you go into one of the bathrooms, and I just thought, this is so Sydney core because everywhere I look, there's just mirrors. There's just mirrors everywhere in Sydney, and it's the message from the city, to you is you are hot. Look at yourself. You are amazing. Look at how hot you are. So that's Sydney, right? And it's a beautiful place. But then you go to Melbourne, and Melbourne, you touch down and it's ooh, the weather is shit. The weather sucks. It's cloudy, it's rainy, it's really cold. So we don't have anything scenic going for us, but that means we've got to go inside, and we're now the cool sister, where Melbourne is I like galleries. I like coffee. I'm tasteful. No, I'm cooler than that. I like art. I like, and they become this cool energy. So people go there for the culture, for the food scene, all of that. So that's Sydney, that's Melbourne. They're very in tune with their identities. But then you've got Brisbane, and Brisbane explodes with an influx of people from these places. So then what happens? Now you've got Eagle Street, you've got the Howard Smith Wharves, arguably already developing, but restaurants like, and I don't want to name and shame here, but I'm gonna, places like Supernormal. Supernormal's a Melbourne restaurant. It's opened up in Brisbane, and Brisbane people love it. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is just a Melbourne, like an interstate establishment opening up here, and people froth it. And that's great. But what I want to do is look at Brisbane, because we are now this awkward middle sister who is like looking up, not middle. We're the youngest. We're the youngest. We're little. And we're looking up to our hot sister and our cool sister. Sorry, they're women in my mind, okay? Um, but we're like, okay, we want to be like that now. We want to be like that when we grow up. And so we become what they want us to be. We try to hang out with their friends and do their like activities, and we wear high heels and we wear silk dresses or like linen and dye our hair blonde and get lip fillers. I'm sorry, this is so woman based. That's the only experience I have. But but that's what happens. And so now I think we're in this spot where it's only been a few years, but it has happened really rapidly. And so now I've come back from interstate, and it wasn't just Melbourne. I also went to the NT. And the other thing is people down south, okay. Sydney's cool. Sydney's actually cooler on this front, but people in Melbourne rag Queensland so much, and Brisbane so much. And I'm kind of over it. Like, it made me, when I was living there, and I know a lot of people, that this migration that happens from Brisbane to Melbourne, I know that every single one of us get to Melbourne and then we're like, yeah, you're right, Brisbane is shit. And then we completely reject Brizzy. But then I went to the NT, and in the NT, if you say you're from Melbourne, they're like, mate, keep walking, another fucking Melbourne uni, whatever. But then you say you're from Queensland, you're from Brisbane, you're from Logan, you're from Gatton. I'm thinking about someone in particular there. They're like, wow, relatable, you're cool, you go fishing, you know what a barramundi is, let's go. And that experience has just made me wake up again to how awesome Queensland is and how real we are, and how we're not anyone else except us, right? So I've decided this is what a Queenslander sounds like, this is what a Queenslander looks like, this is what a Queenslander thinks like, and I want to get it down and be able to articulate exactly what makes me me, because Brisbane fucking made me. Sorry, we're like a few minutes into this and the F bombs are dropping, but hey, I'm a Queenslander. Brisbane made me. Melbourne is wonderful. My heart, oh my gosh, it's a magic place, and I became me in Melbourne. But Brisbane, Brisbane. This is the place. I just know so many cool people from Brizzy, and you meet a Queenslander anywhere else, and I vibe with them so hard. Does anyone else have this, where you meet a Queenslander elsewhere and you're like, why are we vibing so hard? Is it like, are you a Leo? Like, is it star signs, or is it like, I don't know? Is it some sort of shared? I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But then they're like, no, I'm from Bundaberg. And then it's like, oh, you are from Queensland. My friend Emma puts it as, it's the Queensland charm. We have Queensland charm, and there's nothing like it, because we are this beautiful mix of grit and um and like genteel. Like, we're kind and warm and hospitable, like that country hospitality. But then we've got grit too, and we're like, don't fucking mess with me. Like, it's a really beautiful mix. So, moving on, obviously, Brisbane's changing fast. And if you've been here a while, you can feel that. Like I said, like, there's new towers, there's new people, there's new slogans. The Olympics are on the horizon, and with that, there's a wave of branding, building big promises. But behind all that, I keep wondering, what's at stake? We need to know who we are now, so that when all these people, I mean, this is like a very external thought, but when people come from all over the world, you want them to leave Brisbane with like knowing what the message is. Like I said, Sydney tells you how hot you are. Sydney's like, I'm a hot glam place to be and it's fabulous. Melbourne's like, we are cool, we are interested, we are curious, we are just cold and we're fashionable. Like that's Melbourne. They're cool with that. And then Brisbane. What is Brisbane? I think it's somewhere along the lines of simple, happy, tasteful. Because I will get into that at a later date probably. But if you think about it, the coffee in Brisbane, let's just use coffee because I have a Melbourne background. Okay, please bear with me. But in Brisbane, you go to any given cafe and you're going to get oat milk, you're going to get macadamia milk, and that's not a new thing. Like we had Mackie milk and oat milk here, like 10 years ago. I feel like I don't know. I wasn't in hospo, but it feels like a really long time. And the coffee that you get in Brisbane across the board, I'm going to give it like 6 or 7 out of 10. Let's say 6 out of 10. Okay, let's be like for just argument's sake, 6 out of 10 coffees across the board. I am telling you, when you go to Melbourne and you go to any old cafe, like an equivalent, like Brizzy, you're talking 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10. I know Melbourne's the coffee capital. The reason is because they've got the gems, but you've got to search for them and you've got to know what you're talking about to get there, right? But in Brizzy, we are spoiled. We've got an average of 6 out of 10 for coffees. Plus, there's like the world's 8th best coffee place, all of that Time Out did. We've got it all. We've got it all. So I think we are tasteful people. And like my favorite craft beer brewery, let me just get into some wanky Melbourne shit, but Brisbane beers are ace. I'm literally wearing a shirt from City Beach right now that has Milton mangoes all over it, which is the Brisbane word for 4X. People don't know that because mangoes, beers, and Milton is the suburb that they are brewed in. Yeah, and my favorite craft brewery as well, Range Brewing, shout out, Brisbane based. So with that all in mind, I want to say this podcast is a love letter, but it's also a reality check. I love Brisbane. I grew up here, or maybe I grew into it, and I've seen it change in ways that excite me, but also just make me a little nervous. So today I want to start simple. Let's sit with the question, what kind of place is Brisbane really? Because I think it's an underdog. It isn't Sydney. It's not Melbourne. People underestimate it or overlook it. It's like a gateway to the Gold Coast or a gateway to the sunny coast. But maybe that's why people here have a bit of grit, because we don't show off. We're like, just get on with it. Tall poppy syndrome in hand. But there's also something, as I was saying earlier, there's something gentle about Brisbane too. And maybe it's the sunshine, maybe it's the way people talk to strangers, or the fact that everything goes to shit when it's forecast to rain. Like we just become such softies. But whatever it is, it's a city with a certain character. It's not always easy to pin down. It's kind of confused because it's so pretty and people are cool, but nobody can quite articulate it yet. So that's where I come in. Stay with us. Let's dive in next time and explore more of Brisbane. I've got a really great lineup of people coming on over the next couple of months, and I'm really excited to just showcase some really cool things going on in this fucking sick city. And yeah, come along for the ride. Really excited to have you guys. Thanks.